All right, investment. Big issue. Leverage is the key. Remember, we talked about they can get in a home for 0 down, 0 USDA, or 3.5% down FHA. Minimum down, $150,000, 3.5% is about $5,000. Have the seller pay the closing costs. If you do USDA, you can go 0 down. Now, what happens if you bought that 5 years ago and it did its appreciation according to what the OFHEO.gov? You would have had very little money up front into the property. You would have had tax deductions all the way throughout the ownership of the house, and it would be worth quite a bit more, $30,000, $40,000. That's called leverage. I can't even figure the return on the investment if you didn't put anything into it and appreciated that much. Now, all prices can vary, different parts of the neighborhood. That's why you need an expert. That's why you need to be somebody who goes, there's certain neighborhoods that haven't appreciated at all. There are certain areas in town that have done even better than the 30% over the last 4 or 5 years. Okay? And still today, including me, most of the average American homeowner's net worth is reflected in the equity in the homes. 2 reasons. Value goes up over time and the loan payment goes down over time. And secondly, it's harder to get to the money. In other words, hard to get to your equity. They're not giving equity loans like they used to. Okay? So in other words, as you pay that mortgage off and the value goes up over time, you build equity. Make 1 extra payment on a 30-year mortgage, you guys in your 20s. Make 1 extra payment per year, and that's just principal and interest. You'll pay that home off in 20 years. Okay? So if you're 25, buy your house. By the time you're 45, if you make that extra payment, you have a free and clear house. Okay? And if you do that 2 or 3 times, you have 2 or 3 free and clear houses, then your tenants will be paying your living expenses. Good way to go. We teach those in investment seminars as well. Make sure you know the truth about HUD foreclosures and REOs. Okay? Will, what did that house, that REO that we looked at, what was, actually George, I was on vacation, George showed it to you. What did that house look like?
That house looked great in the pictures on the website. It appears that people locked animals in it because they were bored or angry. And the animals did what animals do when they're in a cage in a home. And they removed light fixtures and vents from the ceiling for who knows why. I mean, it took the dishwasher. I guess they needed it.
Yeah, that's the point, is that the pictures don't tell you what it smells like. Okay, but the real reason is that, I mean, people go, well, I want to buy a HUD foreclosure, I want to buy REOs. There are good opportunities in there, but you're probably going to be more doing what Will is, which is being prudent and sifting through all the garbage and finding that one property. He hasn't found his yet. We've come close. But we're sifting through to find that one property, and I guess what? It's probably not going to be an REO or a HUD. There are good opportunities out there, but they're on the MLS. They're available to us as realtors anyways. What the bank does is take the property and go, ooh, we got it back. And they go, who's the best realtor in this area to sell it? They give it to that person and they put it on the MLS. So there is no secret websites or anything to find these REOs. Just find a good realtor. You'll find them if you want to. But just buyer beware when it comes to HUDs and repos and foreclosures. All right, 10 steps to home ownership. Number 1 is decide. The other is to commit. There's a lot of people who decide to buy a home, but they're not committed. They don't get through that process of saying, I'm going to get this, I'm going to make it through the process, come hell or high water. Because the problem is that it does become a part-time job. And when you really get into it, sometimes it can become a full-time job, right, Will? Part-time job, full-time job, and what it means is that there's an extra added level of to-do list when it comes to buying a house, and so it does take a level of commitment. But it does take that decision, because that's what really makes it happen. And sometimes you need some guidance in making that decision. Make homeownership a goal, and then never give up. I've worked with people for 3 years, a divorced couple, a divorced lady, who actually she wanted to buy, but she couldn't buy because she hadn't been divorced yet. In the state of Texas, if you don't get divorced at the time, then it makes it very difficult to buy a house when the husband doesn't want to sign off on it. But we started looking I stuck with her for 3 years. We finally got her a home, and so don't ever let credit or your situation get in the way of you buying a home. Okay, it just sometimes will take some time and it takes some expertise to get through it. All right, 3% of the United States have written goals. And it's funny that 3% of the United States controls 90% of the wealth, but that's for another seminar. Okay. All right, the next step 2 is plan. And I kind of added this here, the mind and the heart, a little bit more about this planning stage. The mind thinks, why? Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to do this? And the heart is, how's it going to make me feel? How's it going to make me feel? So you want to answer those questions when you're making your plan is, why am I going through this process? And how's it going to make me feel? What's it going to do for me? Okay? When you get to that decision-making process, part of it is doing a self-analysis. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with where you're at. Sometimes we're looking for ready, willing, and able people to work with. Like George said, I don't care who it is as long as they're motivated, because they get them a home. What that means is ready, willing, and able. And sometimes the able part is where we need to help you through. In other words, you might have a little credit issue, or you might need to help somebody get you the down payment, some guidance. It could be all kinds of different things. But we're looking to make sure that you get ready, and then you're willing, and then you're able to do it. Okay, so you want to assess your motives. Okay, the motives of, well, why am I doing this? And then when it comes to home, this is a really cool thing that I've been using a lot lately. This is on one side of the paper, and I suggest you kind of do this now, or put it on the back side of one of your deals here, because this starts your process. It is your needs and your wants. You start with needs. I got to have this in a house. Maybe it's a school district. Maybe it's a certain amount of bedrooms. Maybe it's a game room. Maybe it's a media room. Maybe it's Cat 5 cabling, right, Josh? I don't know. Okay, so you got your, talk to your wife before you make those decisions, okay? We were in a decorating session yesterday, and he goes, the gentleman says, I want Cat 6 cabling. And she goes, why do you need that? I don't need Cat 6